My name is Lily Harper, and on my 16th birthday, I handed my stepfather an envelope that made him look like he'd seen a ghost. But let me back up, because what happened in our living room that gray Seattle morning didn't start with the envelope. It started 12 years earlier on the day my biological father's car slid off a rain slicked highway and took my entire world with it. I was 4 years old when Jonathan and Sarah became my guardians. Jonathan was my father's business partner. Sarah was someone he'd introduced as a close family friend. At the funeral, they stood beside me in their black clothes, holding my small hands, telling everyone how they'd make sure I was taken care of. People called them heroes, saints even, taking in a traumatized little girl when they didn't have to. For the first few years, I believed the performance. There were birthday parties with store-bought cake, Christmas mornings with presents under a plastic tree, school drop-offs where Sarah would smooth my hair and tell me to have a good day. I called them mom and dad because that's what they told me to do, and I was too young to know any better. Then Kyle arrived when I was 7. He wasn't adopted. He was their foster son, they said, a boy who needed a temporary home. But temporary turned permanent, and suddenly everything shifted. The birthday party stopped. The presents under the tree had Kyle's name on them, not mine. My bedroom, the one with the window seat and the view of the cherry tree, became Kyle's room. I got moved to the small space upstairs that smelled like dust and had a ceiling that sloped so low I couldn't stand up straight near the walls. When I asked why, Sarah gave me that tight smile I'd come to recognize. "You're older, sweetheart, you understand. Kyle needs more attention right now." I learned to stop asking. By the time I turned 9, the differences were impossible to ignore. Kyle got new sneakers every season. I wore hand-me-downs from Sarah's friend's daughter, a girl 2 sizes bigger than me. Kyle took piano lessons and swimming classes. I came home to an empty house and made myself peanut butter sandwiches for dinner. My 9th birthday came and went without a single mention. No cake, no card, no happy birthday from anyone. I sat in my slanted room until midnight, waiting for someone to remember. When nobody did, I cried into my pillow and promised myself I wouldn't care next year. But the real moment, the one that cracked everything open, happened the winter I turned 10. I'd gone downstairs for water. It was late, past 11, and the house was dark except for a thin line of light under the kitchen door. I heard voices, low, serious. The kind of conversation people have when they think no one's listening. I pressed my ear against the wood. Jonathan's voice came first, rough and annoyed. "The trust from David is sitting at $900,000. Plus the life insurance puts us over $1.2 million. As long as we maintain guardianship until she's 18, we control the distributions. The state payments are just extra. Nobody's auditing this." Sarah laughed, soft and cold. "And at 18, we're done. She gets whatever's left, if anything's left. Until then, we keep playing the perfect family. Easy money." My water glass slipped from my hand. It hit the hardwood floor and exploded into 1,000 pieces. The kitchen door flew open. Jonathan stood there, backlit and furious. His eyes found mine, and something in his expression made my stomach drop. "Go back to bed, Lily, now." I ran. That night, lying in my too small room with my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs, I understood. I wasn't their daughter. I wasn't even really their responsibility. I was an investment, a paycheck, a line item in a budget they were draining dry. For the next 4 years, I became invisible on purpose. I stopped expecting anything. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I said thank you when they handed me Kyle's outgrown clothes. I kept my head down and my mouth shut. But I also started paying attention. I searched the house when they were gone. I went through drawers, closets, boxes in the garage. I was looking for proof. Something, anything that could explain who I really was and what they'd taken from me. I found it the week I turned 14. I was cleaning out the spare closet, a chore Sarah assigned me every few months. My hand brushed against something cold and metal shoved into the back corner behind a stack of old blankets. A small lockbox, gray and dusty, with a cheap combination lock. Taped to the top was a strip of masking tape, my father's handwriting, faded but unmistakable. "For Lily. Open when you're ready." I carried it upstairs, hands shaking. I used a paperclip and a YouTube tutorial to pick the lock. It opened on the third try. Inside was a single envelope. Thick paper. My name written across the front in blue ink. I opened it. My dearest Lily, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm so sorry I couldn't stay to watch you grow up, but I need you to know the truth about your future and the people I've trusted to care for you. When you were born, I set up a trust fund with money from my business and life insurance. It's worth $900,000, and it's meant for your education, your future, your life. Jonathan is listed as the trustee, but only until you turn 18. Then it's entirely yours. I'm writing this because I've started to worry. Jonathan has been asking questions about the trust, pushing for access, suggesting we use it for family expenses. I've refused, but I'm afraid of what might happen if I'm not here to protect it. I've hired a lawyer. Her name is Monica Reyes. Her card is in this box. If anything feels wrong, if anyone tries to take what's yours, contact her immediately. There's also a copy of your birth certificate and a strand of my hair. If you ever need to prove who you are, use it. You are not a burden, Lily. You are my greatest joy. Everything I've built is for you. I love you always, Dad. I read it 4 times before my hands stop shaking. I found Monica Reyes's business card tucked into the envelope's corner. I emailed her from a library computer the next day, using a fake name at first. She responded within an hour. If you're David Harper's daughter, call me immediately. I called from a payphone outside a grocery store 2 days later. Monica's voice was calm, sharp, and kind all at once. She'd been waiting for me to reach out. She'd suspected Jonathan was misusing the trust for years but had no way to prove it without my cooperation. She sent me a DNA kit, no return address. I waited until Jonathan left his razor on the bathroom counter, swiped a few hairs with the roots still attached, and mailed the kit from across town. 3 weeks later, the results came back. Conclusive match. David Harper was my biological father. I sat on the floor of the public library bathroom and cried so hard I thought I'd be sick. Then I stood up, washed my face, and made a decision. I was going to wait. I was going to plan. And on my 16th birthday, I was going to take back everything they'd stolen. For the next 2 years, I played the part. I smiled when Sarah told me to babysit Kyle. I said yes, sir, when Jonathan asked me to clean the garage. I kept my head down at school and my secrets closer. But I was also building a case. Monica helped me track every withdrawal from the trust, every suspicious expense, every forged signature. She compiled it into a file so thick it barely fit in her briefcase. And she introduced me to someone else. Someone I didn't know existed. Ethan Marshall, my biological father. Except he wasn't dead. He'd never been in that car crash. That was David Harper, the man who'd raised me for the first 4 years of my life. The man I thought was my father. But my real father, my biological father, was Ethan Marshall, a man my mother had dated briefly before she married David. A man who never knew I existed until Monica tracked him down with the DNA results and my birth certificate. His first email to me was 4 words. I should have known. We started slow. 1 message a week, then every few days. He never pushed, never asked for pictures or phone calls until I was ready. When I finally sent him a photo of me holding my father's letter, he called me. His voice cracked when he said my name. He wanted to fly to Seattle immediately. I begged him to wait. Monica had a plan. In Washington, 16 was the age I could petition the court to change guardians. We just needed the right moment. So we waited. 730 days. The morning of my 16th birthday arrived cold and silent. No balloons, no pancakes, no card on the table. Kyle was already at school. Sarah was at her yoga class. Jonathan sat at the kitchen island in his suit, scrolling through his phone with a cup of coffee in one hand. I walked in wearing jeans and an old sweatshirt. He didn't look up. Then he reached into his wallet, pulled out a $10 bill, and tossed it onto the counter in front of me. "Get out," he said, voice flat. "I'm done paying for someone else's kid." The words were supposed to hurt. They were supposed to break me. Instead, I smiled. I picked up the $10 bill, folded it once, and slipped it into my pocket. Then I pulled the thick manila envelope from my backpack and placed it on the counter in front of him. "What's this?" he asked, still not looking at me. "Open it." He tore it open. His expression shifted as he read. Confusion, then anger. then something close to panic. Inside was a temporary guardianship order signed by a Seattle family court judge the day before. Effective immediately. Custody transferred to Ethan Marshall, my biological father, along with a petition citing 12 years of financial mismanagement and fiduciary breach. The doorbell rang. Jonathan froze, papers still in his hands. I walked past him and opened the front door. Ethan Marshall stood on the porch in a charcoal coat, snowflakes melting on his shoulders. Monica Reyes stood beside him, briefcase in hand. Ethan's eyes, the same shade of gray-blue as mine, locked onto me. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. He stepped inside, boots leaving wet prints on the hardwood, and spoke the sentence I'd been waiting 2 years to hear. "I'm here for my daughter. You don't have any legal claim on her anymore." Jonathan's mouth opened. No sound came out. Monica clicked open her briefcase and began laying documents on the coffee table. One by one, slow enough that the sound of paper hitting glass echoed in the silence. A withdrawal receipt, $8,000. Memo line, Kyle's private school deposit. Kyle had been in public school his entire life. A wire transfer confirmation. $15,000 to a car dealership for a white SUV registered to Sarah. The same month I'd been told braces were too expensive. A resort booking? Cabo San Lucas. $42,000. 4 adults, 2 children. I'd spent that Christmas eating cereal alone while they sent postcards. Monica kept going. Hockey equipment, a boat loan, casino cash advances signed with the trust's debit card. $214,000 over 12 years. Every dollar stolen while I wore hand-me-downs and asked for nothing. The front door opened again. Sarah stepped inside, yoga mat under her arm, stainless steel water bottle in her hand. She froze when she saw the scene in the living room. "I didn't sign anything," she stammered, voice shaking. "I never—" Monica turned a page toward her. "Your signature is on 19 of these withdrawals, Mrs. Harper. Page 34, if you'd like to refresh your memory." Sarah's knees buckled. She caught the door frame to stay upright. From the stairs came a creak. Kyle appeared in his hoodie and sweatpants, hair sticking up, eyes wide. He stared at the pile of documents, at Jonathan's ashen face, at Sarah half collapsed against the wall. He looked at me, then at Ethan. "What's happening?" he whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't know him one. Monica snapped her briefcase shut. "The Seattle Police Department's fraud division is on standby," she said. "We'd prefer this stay peaceful." Jonathan finally found his voice, raw and desperate. "You can't prove any of this. I'll fight it. I'll drag this through every court in the state." Ethan cut him off, calm and final. "And when you lose? The prosecutor gets the file. 18 counts of fraud, minimum. We're offering you the chance to keep this civil. Take it." He turned to me and held out his hand. I took it. His palm was warm, steady, real. I grabbed the duffel bag I'd hidden behind the couch the night before and walked toward the door. Behind me, Jonathan started shouting. Threats, lawyers, ruin. The words followed us into the cold morning air, but they lost power with every step. Ethan opened the door of a black Range Rover parked at the curb. I climbed in. Monica took the front seat. The driver pulled away without waiting for instructions. Snow fell in thick, quiet sheets. I watched the only home I'd ever known disappear behind a curtain of white. For the first time in 12 years, I didn't feel cold. The civil trial happened in April. It lasted 3 days. Monica presented every receipt, every forged signature, every stolen dollar. Jonathan's lawyer tried to argue family expenses and reasonable discretion. The judge cut him off after 2 minutes. Judgment for the plaintiff, $214,000 plus 8% annual interest and legal fees. Total due within 30 days. Jonathan lost his job the following week. The house went into foreclosure a month later. Sarah moved into her mother's trailer outside the city. Kyle texted me once from a borrowed phone. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." I read it, hovered my thumb over reply, then deleted the thread. That same week, I stood in a different courtroom for a name change hearing. 10 minutes, no opposition. Lily Harper became Lily Marshall. Guardian, Ethan Marshall. I walked out into spring sunlight, feeling lighter than I had in years. Now it's winter again, and I'm standing on the wide deck of Ethan's house on Lake Washington, wrapped in one of his old hoodies, watching snow fall over the water. He appears beside me with 2 mugs of hot chocolate. He hands me one without asking if I want it. We drink in silence. He's been teaching me to drive. Not on roads, but on the frozen lake behind the house. He marks a wide oval with orange cones and sits in the passenger seat while I creep along at 20 miles an hour, laughing every time the back end fishtails. Some nights we stay up late in the library he turned into my study space. He tells me stories about my mother, how she loved jazz, how she could beat anyone at pool, how she laughed too loud and hated cilantro. I listen, piecing together the woman I barely remember. My phone stays quiet. Sarah tried calling twice from unknown numbers. I let it ring. Old classmates who suddenly wanted to reconnect got blocked the second their messages came through. I don't hate them. I just don't owe them anything. Spring brought an acceptance letter from the University of Washington. Full scholarship, business school. I wrote my essay about fiduciary fraud and second chances. Ethan read it over my shoulder and said nothing for a long time. Then he pulled me into a hug that made words unnecessary. I still call him Ethan, not Dad. Not because I'm angry, just because Dad feels too big, too earned. He never pushes, but once I slipped. Something about picking me up after orientation. He smiled so wide his eyes shone. I know what home feels like now. Some nights I open the lockbox I still keep on my desk. My father's letter is soft from being read so many times. I trace his handwriting and understand something new every time. Family isn't the people who share your blood. It isn't even the people who raise you. Family is the person who shows up when the truth gets ugly, who stays every single day without keeping score, who looks at the worst parts of your story and says, "That doesn't change your worth." Ethan chose that. Every morning, every cup of cocoa on the deck, every driving lesson on a frozen lake. The people who spent 12 years teaching me I was disposable lost the right to my time the day they proved money mattered more than I did. I'm 18 now. The trust is fully mine. I'm heading to college in the fall to study finance because I want to understand every rule they broke, every loophole they exploited. So no other kid has to fight this hard, and when people ask where I'm from, I don't mention that house in Seattle anymore. I say I'm from the place where someone finally taught me what home is supposed to mean. Blood doesn't get to write your ending. The people who stay do. Thank you, my loves, for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the newest videos.